You know what time it is.
Much as I wish it weren't.
It's time to give Daddy a kiss.
Diacorn, I appreciate, I'm flattered, but I don't think we know each other that well yet. I don't know what your face looks like.
Alex, dear, the little girl next door who moved into Michael's house was looking for you.
This.
Dad?
I was expecting Alex's dad to literally be a puppet.
Maybe something with more shimmer, like Antonio van Engelstandel.
Where's Mom?
That never
I can kind of
gets
see
old.
his legs on his character model that seem to be inferring that he is some sort of real doll. I mean, you see those bands around his legs, right?
That never gets old.
I think those are socks. It is weird that he wore short shorts.
It could only go further from here, I guess.
Yes, we've apparently stepped into a coloring book. This is normal. This is fine.
Earthbound still gave us the courtesy of a flash of light and transition-y effect before we went into Magic and what was the one? Moonside, that's the one.
Hey, man! What took you so long to get here? We've been waiting here forever!
I'm sorry, guys. I left my polygons on my person.
Going on?
We're going to see the ball drop in the city. Duh. We've been planning this forever.
You ever been to see a ball
You
drop
okay,
in
dude?
person,
You
Diacorn?
look terrible.
Well, we have the peach drop down here for what that's
Maybe you
worth.
should sit
It's
in
kind
the
of like the
back
ball
seat,
drop, but
far away from me in
peachy.
case you barf.
Nice.
Seriously, are you okay?
Yeah.
I guess one thing we do kind of lack in Canada is
tonight
ball
we are
drop,
gonna party like
as
it's
far as I can judge.
1999.
I don't know, we're usually watching
Man,
the
I
New
can't
York
wait
one.
to kick off the new millennium in style.
yeah, you
I
all
can't
don't really ring in
remember
the
last
new
time
year
I
up
did
there, do
something
you?
fun for the new
The thing you
year.
need to understand is that
We should
it's
leave now if we want to get shopping in before
usually
the new year.
punitively cold
How
enough
can you even
that
think about shopping?
the populace
Wasn't it
would
just
generally
Christmas?
rather stay indoors.
Exactly! All the best stuff is on sale now!
All the best things start with remaining indoors, don't they?
As we
I don't know
drove
how
to
you
the
can
city,
say that when we're
I
playing
knew
this game.
something was wrong. Looking around at my friends, I felt as if I was looking at poorly drawn pictures of them, where the artists.
You know, Alex, we have
had just
eyes.
barely captured enough of their essence to show me who they were
And
supposed to be.
we do kind of need them where we're going.
Something had been wrong for a while now.
Yes.
Why did I feel like this? Why was it that when I looked at Vela, I felt as if I was looking at someone else altogether? When I looked at Proto-Michael, I felt like I was looking at
Also,
a
we've got a
image that was
vocal
stamped.
track in the background.
His features were too
Yeah, we
rounded.
do. Remember how good this
Claudia,
was
Chandra,
the last time
how
we
were they
had
even
one?
Talking? I looked at their
Last
mouths
time we
moving
had
up and
one,
down and felt a
it was in
strange
Japanese,
detachment
if I
to them,
recall.
as
It
if they were
was in
speaking a foreign
Japanese.
language without making a sound at all.
Though we did actually get to play again when we
Turned to
went
the
back to the
essential.
hotel.
Her face
That was a
felt
different one,
blurry and
though.
out of focus.
Have you figured it out?
I would say that the Ascension is
Well,
probably the most detailed one
happened?
here.
This reality has already started to break.
But this didn't start today, did it?
I see. So you have noticed.
It was
Only
all
just
in
today.
his head.
Uh-huh.
Oblivious to things I don't want to see.
Jesus Christ,
noticed.
game.
So, would you like me to clear some things up?
We're getting into the
course.
Bioshock Infinite ending.
Give it to me straight.
When someone leaves a reality, a place for a new soul to enter that reality becomes available. Our souls are in constant transit if we do not enter the soul space and take direct control. So this Michael here is not the Michael from your childhood. Proto-Michael is, as he is a combination of all Michaels.
That actually makes no
So did
sense.
the old Michael leave this
That
reality?
legitimately makes no sense.
No.
Yeah.
This reality is shattered. Lost souls in the soul space.
Go on.
slipping in and out of it.
Well, for me, it's like, how is Proto-Michael
Claudia
a
and
sum of
Chandra?
all Michaels and yet also just the Michael from our original reality?
It will be good for you.
Well, presumably, if he is at least the Michael from your reality in part, then by definition, if he is the sum of all Michaels, then he is also our Michael. Just right.
This is like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square type thing.
Yeah, it's really just a matter of definition.
But at the same time, this is a really shitty plot twist.
Yes, it is.
All of these people have been our fan club for this entire game. They have managed to insert themselves into this reality.
A version of Michael, Rory, Chandra, and Claudio all come to this reality. For what?
To find you. To find me. We're going to help them.
And naturally, they couldn't tell us any of this.
This reality is broken. And from what I can tell, it's been broken for a long time.
I do not know. We must first see what form you take to destroy this reality.
This isn't a matter of something that's changed as part of the story. It's just we're now suddenly expected to accept that this has been the case for the entire time and has just evaded our notice because of...
We are all capable of destruction.
Because it would make too much sense for it to be shown to us immediately. Because the writers presumably couldn't figure out a way to handle that in a way that involves dramatic irony.
Now, if only your parallel...
Like, this is literally like that. Have you ever seen the movie They Live, the David Cronenberg one?
Yep.
Okay, so you know the bit where he puts on the glasses and all the billboards say, like, eat, reproduce, all that?
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what's happening here. It's
Yep.
fucking awful.
Except, yeah, that's the thing. They didn't really foreshadow this meaningfully outside of just the apocalyptic overtones and the...
Seeing Michael again, it seemed so normal for him to
Really?
live next to me.
He did live next to you,
With Bella.
but that was a different
Felt
Michael,
most real of
apparently.
all the things that had
This
happened.
Michael is a combination of other Michaels who has apparently come around
Had
to
she been
track
wrong?
you down for
Why
some
did she
reason. I
leave
don't know
this
why
reality?
anybody would do that. They haven't really explained that part yet.
Probably for the best. This reality has gone to literal shit. Did she
I would
perhaps
imagine,
sense that
based
the end
on
was
my
coming?
reading of this, that it just
Was her
has more to
reality
do with
torn
that
apart
idea of
along with
repeating
mine?
cycles and things ultimately
about mine.
not being
I'd never heard
that
of mine
different,
done
just
before, yet I accepted
by
it.
dint of the kind of
Dial
people that
333
are
and
drawn
we'll
to
go
each
inside
other
a
in
physical
times
version
of
of your
crisis
mind.
or loss or what have you.
There you can
So you're
tough
thinking
out
of
and
this in the
bond
way
to
of like
imagine.
Cloud Atlas, right? This idea that over time you have these same series of events and people that line up in weird, unexpected ways,
was
and it's
also
kind of like
obvious from the
fate,
start.
quote unquote.
In
This was
part
my
just
reality.
because that's the closest thing I could surmise is this
Dungeons,
game trying to approach a theme
mustaches,
within its own text.
Beautiful women who come in and out of
Oh yeah, and in the
Mysterious
idea of a
pan-dimensional
multiverse kind of
androids.
science fiction type plot like this,
This wasn't
I
real life.
legitimately think
Of
that
course
could be a
something
really
had to be
compelling thing, but they never explain
sense all
why
along.
everybody has to go after
I was so
Alex, right?
intrigued by the fun
Like,
mystery of it all.
he's not a great
Who wouldn't
person,
be.
and he causes the end of the world, so what reason do we have to even go
found
after
Harlan
him?
in the city
How does he
without even
help
trying
us
while we
solve
were
this
fleeing.
crisis? And also, if they were aware of the crisis, how come they didn't tell us?
And yeah, because
Because it would make too much sense.
the implication is that we're supposed to be affecting some kind of meaningful change, breaking the cycle or making decisions that are in some way very much distinct from all those other instances in which reality came to an end. But we never really have any sense of what the progression is, what the escalation's supposed to be, how we're supposed to get the tools in order to realize this goal. Because even in something like Persona 3, where the whole thing is framed similarly in being a hopeless exercise, something that just can't be avoided based on the laws of the universe, there was still that idea that because of the circumstances surrounding your party and the very particular nature of the protagonist, that there were answers to that problem.
If you look at other games that have sort of handled that, this idea of a time loop, a cycle that you're breaking. Oh, by the way, apparently it doesn't like if you trigger the story flag to go into the subway and then don't go into the subway.
Amazing.
All right, let's go ahead and try that again. So anyway, what I was saying, to get back to this idea of kind of breaking the cycle, which is a theme that shows up in, you know, a lot of science fiction type shows and movies and in games and that sort of thing, right? Like, it's genuinely a compelling idea. But if you want to look at something like, okay, let's talk about BlazBlue, right?
Yep.
BlazBlue is a great example of a time loop type game where the true ending, quote unquote, is having the main characters figure out that they're in a time loop and breaking out of it.
It certainly starts that way, but boy, does that series go places. But we'll digress.
BlazBlue is basically what happens when you can never say no to your story people. Anyway, so like that's really the thing. Like, that's kind of the standard progression for time loop type games, or at least coming into some form of awareness that it's happened. And this game just sort of implies that everybody else is aware of it but hasn't let Alex in on the joke, which I think is really, really silly because he's the main character. This is not like a Black Mirror episode or whatever, where everybody is aware of something that the protagonist isn't for the purposes of dramatic irony, and then they pull the blindfold off.
Yeah, what I'm getting more from this is the idea that they've maybe... The way I feel like they could play it is that they've made a conscious judgment that, for very good reason, that Alex can't really be trusted with this information just because he's still kind of immature and a little emotionally volatile, or at least it ostensibly could be read that way given how he's reacted to some of the crises his friends have gone through.
Oh, sure, but the Ascension doesn't give a shit about that. She just straight up led him to the precipice at the edge of the universe, you know?
Yeah, so
why did she do that if the whole goal here was to protect Alex from the truth?
Because the plot had to go somewhere.
I guess that's true. And it's one of these things where I think it kind of gets back to that thing you and I were talking about a couple episodes ago, where it just sort of seems like everybody is giving Alex credit for changing, but they don't want to they don't want to illustrate that at all. They just sort of want to tell you that it happened, and they want to leave it flexible enough that they can still give Alex cheap shots because they're still super dedicated to making him an unlikable protagonist.
Yeah, that's really, to me, a bit more endemic about this idea I've talked about before, which is the strange protectiveness of Alex that the story has. That, on the one hand, they critique him in a way that is not really connected meaningfully to any of his actions in the story or the way we kind of perceive him as a character, purely because there's this sense that he has to be blamed in some way in order to be just made more compelling, but his flaws also can't be the sort of thing that would render him unlikable as a character. And that cross purposes means that any sort of attempt at critique or even character growth can never really get to the point that it needs to be.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment of it, and also a much more succinct way of putting what I was trying to say, so thank you for doing that.
You're very welcome. I'm somewhat good at this.
I'm glad. I'm glad one of us is. I like that they put the little cursor over Alex so you don't lose him.
Yeah, lose him in the effect of the game Tokyo Mirage Sessions that's happening now.
You noticed that, did you?
Yeah, I mean, Tokyo Mirage Sessions was pretty great, and this game is showing that it can even get that wrong.
Yeah, this game is just kind of aping all our favorite RPGs, isn't it?
I mean, it kind of purported to be doing that from the beginning, so...
I guess that's true.
It's, again, just the fact that, as you say, because of this very specific angle kind of interrupting our ability to see Alex, it's a case where, yes, they aped it, and yet did it in a way that was vastly inferior to the original.
Also, do you like this weird anime waifu art that's all over the place for some reason? Also Dolly in the background.
I'm usually okay with it, but this is, again, pretty cut rate.
Hey guys, can I be in your show too?
Oh no!
I am the Lactomist, the destroyer of planets.
Oh, my my god!
This is all so familiar!
Prepare to fight. This is it. This is the end.
So how many LP tosses do you think it takes to get to the center of a meteor?
I'm gonna go with 4.
I mean, we trained for this!
Also, why is Michael not enlightened anymore?
Because this is proto... Oh, wait, no, now he's enlightened.
This is it! Prepare yourselves! Michael! You're back! I never
It's
left.
like he never left. Yep.
Holy shit! I remember everything now.
Wow, that
What's
was
happening?
convenient.
Yeah,
Usually
why didn't
when
they
that
remember
means you
anything
all remember
before?
what's
When a game like this pulls that kind of twist,
Come on, let's
they
not
usually
let
have a
ugly
couple of
bugs back
scenes
into
where they talk
space.
about not remembering anything.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting the virtue's last reward flashes of a bunch of shit we saw before in other rounds.
A bunch of kids who thought they could make a difference.
So anyway, I will say this, Diacorn. I think your critique ability has improved tremendously by virtue of having to go through this game and take as charitable and generous a stance as you could in trying to decode it alongside me and the rest of this thread.
Oh, I'm trying. But he's missing so few frames, Mode Wonder Shot. I'm trying really hard to be charitable here. Anyway, let's see how this goes.
Well, you got 1 hit, so...
I did get 1 hit.
Give your final words to me.
And that is quite a bit of itself.
You may notice that yeah, that was a fair amount of his health, but like really, what's the likelihood that we left it with 1 HP, you know?
Mistake. Underneath this heavy load, I'll travel through the moonlight, decipher.
Alex!
I don't know, Rory, do something, I guess.
Yeah. Also, I just kind of realized that this is going for Earthbound again, because there's the whole final battle where you can see the protagonist's face in the golden orb.
Yeah. Well, they've really been wearing the Earthbound part on their sleeve for a while now, and yeah, that's fine. I was a little bummed I didn't hit the LP toss for the second time, but then I realized that it didn't really matter. This is a story fight.
HP doesn't matter, and vocals are just going nuts.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the vocals here. Why did they choose a vocal track for this particular thing? Like what does this contribute to this overall plot?
A sense of resolution that would otherwise have been very much lacking, and frankly is still very much lacking.
I'm glad the Soul Survivor guy came back for the finale. That was nice of him.
Yeah.
Alex!
And I kind of want to learn who the vocalist is now.
I don't. It's like they deliberately tried to make his mix bad. I never used charge before. I was kind of wondering what it did. I wanted to see if I could get it in before, you know, the end of the game.
I'm begging, please. That hurt! Where's the answer?
Well, worth getting a view of more or less everything that happens. And speaking of which, it strikes me, did we ever get into a fight where Proto-Michael was one of the active characters? Did he have different mechanics?
No. I mean, he has a thing where you can combo based on his camera strap thing. It's like the film reel when you can click the buttons. But no, there's no reason to use Michael because his stats are not great and he only has 2 skills and neither one's good. The Meteor Alex will, well, he was supposed to go and kidnap the Essentia too, but he decided not to do it for some reason. I thought this might be one of these things where they just like put a little cap on his health so that he stayed at 1 hit point until we got to this this obviously scripted thing, right?
Right.
But that appears not to have been the case. I love the little sound effect it makes whenever it whooshes them off.
Sounds about right. And yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten to the epilogue.
Having accomplished very little, I suppose.
I legitimately don't know what's going on at this point. I just want the game to end.
Yeah. All I can say is that we seem to be in one of the endings of Devil Survivor 2, if I remember that game correctly.
It's gone. Everything is gone.
All right, Chris Niosi, earn that paycheck.
How did this happen? How can I have everything one moment and be so completely alone the next?
It's okay. In Megaten World, that means you're God.
It's destroyed.
Oh, buddy, you have Panda.
I'm destroyed.
What are you going to do now?
He seems awfully chillax for someone who's been destroyed.
Forever. You and me. What do you say, pal? Yeah, you're right. It's a terrible idea.
Alex, this
Where
whole
do you
thing
think
was
the
a
Essential
terrible
2000
idea.
is?
I don't know. But I really wish she was here. And Bella. And everyone else.
Fucked up, man. You fucked up. Everyone died. Because of you.
Uh-huh.
I'm starting to think Panda isn't a positive influence on us.
Well, I mean, that certainly throws some new possibilities into the theory that he is just Alex's penis, but...
I'd rather we not return to that theory, thanks.
I thought you were enjoying yourself.
Well, I was enjoying myself, but not in particular to that particular facet of this game.
I don't know what else we could be enjoying at this point, because apparently there's going to be soul space chicanery once more.
Yeah, we've lost it all.
Absolute loss.
We have no reason to continue, Mode
Music,
Wondershot.
TV, expensive record players. All of these material things have value, but they can't be valued above the people in your life.
Alex has learned the concept of Sau-Dad.
On a very special episode of Y2K.
Rory lost his sister. What did I ever lost? It's a funny thing to grow up with everything in life. When I was 4, I vacationed to Italy one summer. I did every year for the next 2 years, and you know how much I appreciated that travel? You guessed it. I didn't appreciate it at all.
So, I have a
I
question.
met a kid in college that never left the state.
All of
He said his
Alex's
parents didn't take
friends
vacations.
came to this universe to
realize
find
people didn't travel.
Alex 6483, right?
How much I had.
Because they thought he would be the one to break the cycle.
To earn it.
Presumably.
Now that there's nothing
But
here,
this isn't his
I
either.
realize
He is not the original
realized
Alex
what a little
6483.
I was.
So
I thought
how
about
did
my
he
soul
get
and
here?
Whatever the hell that meant. Did I even believe in souls? Well, I did to a certain extent. I think the problem is people of 100 different ideologies say different words.
I'm sort of
Soul
trying to
means
track a
one
little
thing to
more
one
on this
person,
idea
something
where
entirely
he's
different
becoming
to
very
another.
aware of the concept of
I thought about
privilege.
my mom, my
And
sister, about Bella,
I'm
Rory,
saying that,
Michael,
oh, all
Chandra,
right.
and Claudio.
this kind
I
of
thought about all my friends
self-reflection
from
is the
college,
sort
my
of
past
thing that
girlfriends, teachers,
was
random
really
people on buses.
lacking otherwise, but
They were all gone. Simply gone.
if
Gone
you're
where?
trying to get across the idea
When you
that
die,
it's
you don't enter the
relevant
soul
only
space.
in
Soul
this
space isn't
moment
heaven or
of
anything stupid
it's
like
too
that.
late to do anything about it,
It's the place
then
between
that's one
places.
thing, but
No, it's
at
not
the same time,
What is it?
there wasn't
The
really
place
any
between.
foreshadowing
The place
for
between
this
places.
as being the trajectory of
There's
Alex.
nothing
It
left
again
here.
just seems like one of those things
Yeah,
that
I was
was
scared to go.
thrown in at the end once
But
they
what was
kind
the
of went back
alternative?
and realized, okay, no,
If I stay here, I'd
there
die,
isn't a good
starve.
reaction to this character.
Go insane from the loneliness. The only place to go.
I think the implications here are
no
very
place between
troubling that
spaces.
Alex is talking about
The soul space.
about his privilege and stuff in life as he's sinking into despair
How
to
do
the
we do
point
this?
where suicide is starting to
How do
look
I
like an
separate my
attractive
brain
option
from
to
my
him.
body? How can the physical and metaphysical be separated?
Like, like, I get what you're trying to do, game, but is this really the best time? Is this really the hill you want to die on?
2000. You're now face to face with God. You can ask him any question, and all you can ask.
She's closer to Jesus, for what it's worth.
This is me in a nutshell. I lacked appreciation.
I was going to go with Legion myself, but
should have. No, don't think like that.
Oh my God, she is Legion.
There's no use in beating myself up.
Or the Borg.
I don't even know anymore. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's what my mother said to me whenever I made a mistake. But was this the mantra I really should have adopted? Maybe I should be hard on myself. Maybe I'm a failure. Maybe acknowledging your mistakes makes you not a little shit.
Acknowledgement is one thing. It's
you must be this acknowledged to continue.
It's whether you actually use that acknowledgement to change is the key point.
Well, yes, but let's not get into subtleties here.
Because now we have full 3D movement.
Yes, we do. Oh, thank God, one of these. Now, if only I can get to it.
There you go.
It's like the phone thing all over again in my room.
Yeah. Also, which RPG scene is this, I ask you?
Oh, God. Bayonetta?
I was gonna go with...
That was not the answer you were expecting.
I mean, it's a decent guess, but honestly, this happens at the end of Final Fantasy X, if you remember that. Well, you go down and you swim through the memories of your dad, and it's in full 3D movement. And then the last boss fight happens, or technically the last 3 boss fights, only the first of which is relevant. Or at least relevant in the sense that you can lose it.
Well, Sin is the real final boss, yeah. There is a lot of ground to cover here, holy shit.
Yeah.
They couldn't have made the soul space maybe a little bit smaller.
I kind of understand wanting to space it out just so that there's the possibility of getting some kind of a breather from all of this ridiculous exposition. I mean, I feel like...
You blew it up!
Oh, flail, Alex.
This is...
Flail, you madman.
I'm so lost. Where do we go? What do we do here? I'm terrified. I miss my friends. My family.
Panda's just like, this is it, man.
What am I gonna do?
You're doing it.
Alone.
Trumpet's with you on that one.
Alex, I don't have any answers for you. I'm sorry.
What do you mean you don't have answers? You always have something to say.
Alex, how am I supposed to know what to do?
I'm only a stuffed panda.
God, the music makes this incredible.
Hey, don't come back! I don't care if you're a toy! I need you!
Oh boy. Alright.
I can't make this up.
Alright. And so he was eaten by the space chair, or not.
I thought that was supposed to be a basketball hoop, to be honest with you.
And so Alex chaos thumped Panda and destroyed reality.
And that was the first time Alex destroyed reality, was with the verboten jam.
Oh, please tell me you're gonna play a slam jam over the final boss.
I wasn't going to, but that's a wonderful idea. I eventually figured out that the Statue of Liberty was not where we were supposed to be going. In fact, it's this little planet over here, which took me about 2 minutes to get to.
Yeah. Also, you don't want to have to answer awkward questions as to whether or not the Liberty Island belongs to Jersey or New York.
I thought we talked about that last episode. It doesn't matter because they put it on the New Hampshire side.
Well, The only thing I remember of import is that the statue may be in New York, but the gift shop is in Jersey.
What did she look like for you?
Alex, what happened to your voice?
God, I miss her. Hey! Hey! Wait, don't go! Oh, I haven't seen you before. Did you just get here?
This is not the face I was expecting.
Can you tell me where here is?
I was kind of expecting the Council of Alexes here, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just got
and mostly I'm, at this point, really kind of shocked that the game figured that the correct answer was more iterations of Alex.
Yeah, you know, this is not what I would have preferred in my Purgatory.
So, just kick back and enjoy.
Purgatory is supposed to be neither good nor bad, it's just sort of there. But this game is actively bad. This game is actively hurting me.
Yeah, again, Purgatory is supposed to be like a test. It's supposed to be the opportunity for redemption, the pain being instructive.
What question is that?
So, again, I feel like this experience has been instructive in the sense that we've developed a fair bit in our ability to critique.
Wait. Who is she? Oh, the Ascension 2000. She appears to us, warns us, shows us what we're gonna do, and we get the hell out of reality before anyone gets hurt.
It's kind of telling that every Alex in every reality lacks responsibility, and yet our Alex is the most responsible and mature one.
It's impossible.
Like, is that incredible to you? Is that how you're reading this?
It's
just too many.
It's at least kind of consistent with that exploration of the theme of cycles and how things just kind of repeat themselves.
No, I mean, I get that, but think about this mode, Wondershot. This is the good Alex. This is the Omega Alex, the one we're playing right now.
And really, that would have to be the case, given that they're the perspective Alex, and therefore the one we're ultimately supposed to be able to kind of get behind as part of the story's course. But
hey, Kingdom Hearts mess with that too. That they just sort of implied you were somebody else, and then they kind of came out with it about 3 to 4 hours in.
And realistically, I mean, yeah, there have definitely been RPGs that played with that somehow, such as how Final Fantasy VII's big reveal was about how Cloud really wasn't who he purported to be, not necessarily for any reasons within his control, but...
Isn't that actually kind of a running theme in Final Fantasies? Like, number 9, Zidane was an imperfect copy of What's-His-Face. I think Vivi was like... Wasn't that the game that had all the mass war weapon black mages?
Sure was.
Are you here to join us? Oh, won't you please help us? I stared into the void, and all I saw was myself. We are going to destroy another reality. Are you coming?
Okay. There's...
Yeah, we're not doing that. Oh god, it's Bob Ross.
He's back for more.
No, it's not Bob Ross anymore.
But yeah, with Final Fantasy VII, it was slightly cynical in that the person you are is still deeply impacting, and so, you know, coming to terms with not being who you thought is important, but it's still your origins still affect you more than you know.
Version of myself.
And that's the thing, like, that's a central theme of the game that affects other people. Like, probably most notably Sephiroth in the original game with Genova and all that stuff.
Right. Whereas Final Fantasy IX was more, you are who you grow into with your experiences and your beliefs and how those can change over time, or that with perspective become more or less important as your priorities change. And that who you were, or what your past says about you, is never going to be as relevant as the choices you make in the moment.
My mom, my sister, my dad, everyone I couldn't remember. Why couldn't I recall everyone? I thought about what Vela told me about soul survivors. Was I becoming a soul survivor? I was the sole survivor of my reality. It would be a fitting fate.
Whereas here, we're trying to get it that who you are or what you do is in some way predetermined, and that your ability to change that or not change that is virtually arbitrary.
Pretty much.
Or at least has to be bestowed by someone with the knowledge. So really it's more about Gnosticism than anything.
I don't have a body, and yet somehow I was cold.
I don't really know if I would necessarily interpret it that way, but I kind of see what you're getting at.
She was a woman made of plastic.
I think this is one of these things where this is sort of supposed to be the climax of the game and like the darkest hour, where we have reached the end of this timeline and all Alex can do is stand by and watch the Council of Alexes obliterate all his realities one after another. I don't know how he's doing that. The game never talks about that.
I needed to stay me as long as possible.
I'd accept the explanation just being that as the perspective character, again, leaning into that postmodernist aspect, that his power is necessarily to end the universe just by dint of being the source of the entire story.
But I majored in.
Possibly, but does that mean he's dying over and over again here, and that's why he's forgetting who he is, like he's just going hollow like in Dark Souls or whatever?
Potentially.
I made friends with my neighbor, and
or at least it's the closest thing I could come up with for trying to follow exactly where this is trying to lead us from a thematic perspective as opposed to a strictly textual one.
My neighbor and the girl from another dimension met a kid on the internet whose sister died. We became good friends.
Well, they're trying to basically replay the whole game for us at this point. Like, literally, they just are reading down the Wikipedia article for this game's plot.
Yeah, and again, I'm debating doing that myself for purposes of future analysis.
I want to see if I missed anything, because I'm pretty sure I have somehow.
Oh, I'm certain that we have. Again, this is kind of a problem when your story hinges on recalling certain specific details without any kind of after-the-fact indication of which ones were relevant or not.
I was just trying to get through this game while being as little of a jerk as possible.
Yep.
Floating away. I'm nothing.
Look at it this way, Diacorn. You didn't survive as the character within the diegesis. However, we certainly revealed quite a bit of ourselves as part of this experience, and I can certainly say you managed to avoid being a jerk with remarkable aplomb.
Thank you. I've simply evaporated into the concept of loss. It's kind of incredible.
Well, I think we'll have to unpack that a little further next time.